we have to fill out like separate surveys on each of those residents to, make sure that they've got damage, that we can maybe help with them. So we're busy gathering all that information so we can get it submitted by next week. So all I need you guys is to sign this council resolution of support that you're going to go forward and apply for the grant.
Colin, you got some motion made, John?
Yeah, that sounded like a motion to me.
I'm in favor too, Gerald.
It's a total of $500,000, and we're gonna apply for the maximum amount. And if there's a possibility that it goes higher, we'll try to, work with the state to see if they could maybe increase the grant, but right now that's their grant ceiling, and that's what we're gonna apply for.
Okay. Give me just a second, Crystal.
Okay. Don't date it, I'll take care of it.
Right here, correct.
So these are,
Repetitive.
yeah, these are kind of different pages within the grant application that you have to sign. There's not a whole lot. I know that's blank, but I'll fill that in.
Dangerous.
I'll have to wait until I get all the information.
3 of them or another
There's
one?
3, yep,
Famous.
too bad.
John, you need to put your stamp on that for, or what do you do to that?
Yeah, do I need to sign those also?
No, we're good. Just
Okay,
check
let me
these
get
and
this, and do you need a seal on this one?
sign. Yeah, that'll work, and date it today, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I can go, you can go across and get your seal on it.
Yeah. Somebody over there surely will do that for you.
And again, this will go in, next Monday, because it's due the 30th. I had in my mind all last week it was due the 29th, but it's actually due a week from today, so we'll FedEx it out next Monday. And hopefully we'll hear back rather quickly, because they want to get rid of these funds quick.
Okay.
And I'll let you guys know that. Whenever I hear anything back from the state, I'll let you guys know.
All right.
Sounds real good.
Got any thoughts on that, Joe?
No, sounds good to me.
I'll get that for you.
Okay, sounds good. That's all I need, guys.
All right, thank you very much, we appreciate it.
All righty, thanks.
Tracy gonna be here?
Nope.
Or is he absent?
Yes. Without leave, as Cheryl puts it.
Well, this is all I have.
Yeah.
You guys ain't got anything official to do
So much Cheryl's
before I
got.
tell you that? I've just kind of been, you can kind of match it up to last week's paper, and then I've just kind of been cutting off the top and doing the roots and stuff, so. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
How are you, John? Yeah. Sometimes I forget. Good morning, Patrick.
Glad he's in.
It's up to you gentlemen, whether you wanna get the booklet or not, but we'll have to have
That's
something.
not here, do you want, they just wanted to identify, didn't they, right now, or,
Correct,
and these people don't abate it,
right.
so,
We have to identify it so that way, whatever work we do in the courthouse, it's been identified to particularly as it relates to the bathrooms, the most immediate concern.
They want 6,000, so. Well, actually, I guess they've already done it, basically.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Says it would take 2 days to go back and, I didn't quite understand it. 2 days to actually, if they have some asbestos, they're gonna mark on the insulation some way, but then the report, it won't be wrote on there asbestos, but the report, it'll have it,
A map or something.
yeah, in somebody's office, John's, I guess.
That probably makes most sense.
And It didn't really sound too bad to me. Maybe it is.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're gonna need something to satisfy the Department of Labor and,
Yeah.
They said they could do it by the end of the month.
Great.
What is our time frame? Do we have?
Well, we have to get it sent in by, November the 15th, but we have to get that before we can start on the bathrooms. And that's also
Okay.
due by November 15th.
Yeah.
And I guess, yesterday was the deadline for bids on the bathrooms. I don't know if we received any or,
I'm not aware of any.
okay.
That's a,
Kinda odd, isn't it? Well,
that one farmer told me that he didn't have anything to do. Oh, why, Superior? One, he didn't bid on.
well, what's your thoughts on the 6,000? You wanna wait and see what Jason says? I don't know what other, I mean,
I don't know what else we could do. I mean, if you, just get someone else if you think they're, might be cheaper.
Whatever your
I don't
judgment is
really
on.
know. I have no idea what people charge for such.
Well, I don't either.
Did he walk around? Was you with him when they was
Yeah,
here?
we even looked, he looked in even the janitor's closets everywhere, looked at every room in the courthouse, except in this lot, which was, drainage, it was locked, didn't go in there. And then he came back, and I guess he identified all of it. He even, and then, but he did say, if we wanted to do it, he'd have to cut a little hole in the carpet, see if it was tile under there or wood flooring.
I'd have to go with tile. I would assume, wouldn't you, John?
Well, he said he would have to look under the carpet.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, it's all been carpet since I've been here.
Yeah. I bet it's wood, but.
Oh, you think it's wood?
I would almost bet it is too.
I bet it is, at least, well, I don't know, is this concrete or wood here? I bet it's concrete. Maybe we look up from the basement, I think it's concrete.
Sound like wood to you?
Sounds like wood.
Does it?
Yeah, I couldn't make an echo sound like that if it was concrete.
So, hopefully it is wood, as far as that's concerned.
Be better than tile.
Yeah.
Well,
I like the guy personally, but, if you guys wanna check with someone.
well, we're gonna owe him something for his services already, aren't we, or what?
Probably are.
I can't imagine with the specialty of the service, you find somebody else, it's gonna be that
Yeah.
much of a savings.
Yeah. See, they did it first inspection, cost us $1,100 something. I thought that was really pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I've got to call him whenever you decide.
Well, what fund are we taking that out of? Contingencies fund?
I think it's where it had to come out.
I think so too.
We got a lot coming out. We've been hitting a lot of contingencies lately.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess we'll just pay it. I don't know what else to do.
We gotta get started on those bathrooms.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we're gonna do that. With nobody there, but maybe find somebody.
What are they doing? Is that just the hot water heaters and?
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, well, you gotta have an electrician, to put a receptacle over there. In most of them, I think.
Well, let me go over and ask. I mean, I'm not aware of any.
I didn't ask
I
either.
don't know why nobody was.
That's possible.
Well, if you want anything else from me, let me know.
We do.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, this letter.
Yeah. I kinda think that maybe
Well, that
the
one's
union,
quit, I think.
do what?
That one is quit gonna quit serving.
Yeah, but it sounded like they've been merged or bought out or something.
Yeah, I did finish the letter, but,
I don't know if maybe union employees need to look at that. I mean, that affects,
yeah, it will.
you know, it's just, really, it's more up to them, cause
Like it.
I don't,
They say service was the same, would be the same, that was.
surely so.
Basically, we have till next week to get it done, right?
Yeah.
No, there's,
Not a bid one, huh?
no.
Well, if you want, I'll notify the unions. You want me to do that?
I mean, before I signed off, I think it'd be at least courteous just to let them know, wouldn't it?
We have till October 1st, so that'll give us next
Okay.
Tuesday.
Yeah, please do.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Patrick.
Hey, Patrick, can I ask?
Sure. Okay.
Well, come on up and,
Gary, do you know Miss Linda?
Yeah.
Okay.
you have to watch that chair, it may throw
Take
you out.
off with me, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Hand, you probably already have a copy of that, or do you, if you want it? It's my bill. You don't
I'm not
need it.
concerned with people's tax bills, that's what I do.
Thank you.
Well, I've talked to all three of you, and I appreciate you all listening. I thought I'd just come this one last time to make a case. I received, I think from you, Mr. Ham, the certificate of error denial. Said the Massac County Board of Review made a decision to not approve the request for certificate of error and no adjustment will be made. And I understood that, and you had highlighted that the nature of the error was that I disagreed with the value that before the building was put on there. And, you know, I don't understand a lot about the numbers on assessing, but my tax bill before that building, which cost, couldn't find the papers this morning, but it was under $15,000. My tax bill, as you see, the year before was $2,500. And with the addition of that $15,000 building, my tax bill went up $1,200, which seems like a 50% increase to me. And in that, I surmise that that would make the value of that building equal to half the value of my home, which is a huge, gap between those two amounts. And I realize from talking to other people that most people's bills have gone up, and I expect that and understand that. But a 50% increase for a $15,000 building seems extremely excessive. And I just don't think it's justified.
And if you'd like me to explain it again, and I'll explain it in front of the commissioners, what happened is you were reassessed, and based on the fact that you had a building on there we didn't have on the books, but I reassessed you. And with my duties as a supervisor of assessments, a lot of people don't understand, my job is to make sure the value of your property is correct. That's what I do. Where it's at and where it goes affects your tax bill. Everybody understands that part. But the fact of the matter is I've got your card right here. You were at under 130,000 on your property back in 2012. I reassessed it in 2013, which means the assessment year was 13, it was the tax bill. When you got your tax bill, that's when you saw what the effects of my reassessment was. We publish it in the paper, which we're required to do by law, and we send people notices. I understand a lot of times people get those notices and they don't maybe realize what they are and the effects of those notices. In which I'm gonna personally try to work on the fact that when I do send notices, I'm gonna try to also attach the formula to show them what it would increase their tax bill. which I think would be a good service for my office too. But statutorily, there are rules and procedures, and once you get your tax bill, it's generally too late for me to do something about an assessment in a prior year. My office is always dealing with at least 2 years of a tax cycle. So right now, John's dealing with the 14, still dealing with the 14, the taxes due on 14 for the assessment 13, where right now my office is working on the assessed values for 14 going to 15. Now, after you expressed your concerns, and I reassessed you for 14 payable 15 for next year. So I ended up lowering your assessment by about 25,000. Now, if we just want to talk dollars, this is a 1,800 square foot house on 30 acres that I had at 175, I felt was worth 175,000. And I felt that was a fair value. How I got there with the reassessment process is really not relevant, other than the fact that this was the number I came up with. So after talking with you and having a discussion about what your property feels, you felt, I lowered it to 150,000. But I can't go backwards and say, this is what happens. Because of how the rules and the law is set up, you, unfortunately, as a property owner and a taxpayer, are responsible to react to whenever you're given notice or notice has been given. I don't like Illinois property tax code. I don't like the process. I don't always agree, and I don't always think it's fair. I totally agree with the taxpayer in that manner. And I know it's a shock when you get a tax bill that's $1,200 higher. I get that, but as the assessor, and I try to get literature out there to people, as the assessor, I'm concerned with value, not taxes. I'm not trying to be impersonal, but my office has been an office that has been misconceived since I got here. All I've heard is tax assessor, tax assessor. I just don't have that kind of power. My only duties is the value. And I ultimately ask people, so are you saying your property, 150 to 175,000 on 30 acres on an 1,800 square foot house, you don't think it's worth that? That's the only question that I'm concerned about. If
I
you
paid
didn't,
$81 to build it. I don't know how the increases go, but that was the cost of the
Well,
house, and 15 for the building,
And
and that's all I know, because I don't know,
well, and I
property
always tell
tax.
people, if you don't agree with my value, please hire an appraiser, hire somebody that's qualified, and I take those, and as long as it's a reputable appraiser, I'm going to change that value. But otherwise, there's a process, and I gave everything to the Board of Review. I don't have the final say, the Board of Review does. So I took it to the Board of Review, they listened to all the information, and they're like, if you don't give us notice, if you didn't appeal it in that 30 days after publication, all your rights are gone.
Well, may I say that I work in a lab, and I know those numbers, I don't understand yours as well, but if, heaven forbid, we make a report, and those numbers don't reflect the truth of your condition, you can bet your last dollar we're gonna be making a change. Because morally, ethically, and for your good, which we care about, we're gonna make those adjustments.
And that's what I did in this case. I lowered your assessment the following year as soon as you made me aware.
But this denial indicates to me that you could have made the adjustment this year, and you did not
Not by
do it.
statute, not by statute. The Board of Review said, we don't have, you didn't appeal it at the Board of Review level. And if you don't.
According to what I read last night,
Otherwise,
there's even another
here's my
board that,
recommendation, go get an attorney, because.
I don't wanna do that, I'm
don't
appealing to
know
you
what
to
else-
do what's right, I don't wanna argue with
But
you.
I'm doing what the law says. Are you telling me to break the law, or do you want my
This-
Board of
this-
Review to break
would
the
this-
law?
Let me ask you one question. Would this be, proper and legal for you to have accepted this?
As a supervisor of assessments, it's my job to issue the certificate of error.
Mm-hmm.
It is not my job to approve it. I didn't
Oh,
deny
really?
it.
Oh,
It was
it
the
was your
Board of
board.
Review that, given that information, said, no, you didn't bring it to us 30 days after publication, so therefore, we have no authority to act on this.
May I ask you if it were brought about in that time frame that you are referring to, would it have been approved?
I don't know what they would have.
But based on your experience?
You would have had to bring evidence, and that would have been their decision. I can't speak on their behalf. I don't speak on their behalf. They are a separate entity. They're the check and balance to my office. Even though I'm the clerk, just like John's the clerk of these gentlemen right here, I'm the clerk of the Board of Review, and all I do is take notes. And if I have information they request, I hand them that information. Typically, as a clerk for a board, that's my duties and responsibilities, but ultimately, this decision came from the Board of Review.
And it was because of the time frame.
It was because the timeframe.
So if I had understood your numbers when they came in the mail,
Yes.
and said, wow, they've
You
increased
would've
my
come into
tax
my
bill
office.
by 50%, I would have come, you would
And-
have said, this doesn't seem in line,
That's correct.
let's
You-
fix this.
You could,
But
you,
today,
right.
just eat the 1,200 increase.
I mean, it's the law. I mean, I can show you court case after court case that
But
has
now-
already been ruled on that said we don't have any jurisdiction because you didn't do the process correctly.
Now, next year, won't that go down? So-
Yeah, it will go down, I dropped it about 25,000 in value, or about 800 assessed, so at a 7%, 8% tax rate, roughly $350, $400. But, and again, that's why I was looking at a different tax program, because I want to be able, when I send notices to people, I want them to understand what that notice is, because most people don't understand that notice, and I understand that, and I get that, and I get frustrated myself, because I want people to understand this process, and I want them to understand, all they have to do is follow the rules, which is come in after publication, let us know. If not, then they can still deal with me, but it's gonna be in an informal fashion, and it's for the next year, because once I sign the books and I give it to John's office, I have no more statutory authority, other than issuing requests for a certificate of heirs.
From what I could discover, there was the board that you know, are affiliated with, and there's actually another board above that board
Well, that
that
would
you
be,
can appeal to.
well, that's Property Tax Appeal Board, and
So it sounds like that there are, you know, methods for people to say,
Absolutely.
you know, we've made an error here, let's do
And-
the right
and
thing.
this is, I'll share some experience I've had with the Property Tax Appeal Board, because for 10 years prior to me coming here, I helped people like yourself try to understand the process and how to appeal the process. But I will tell you, if you don't follow the rules exactly, they'll tell you, sorry, we don't have any jurisdiction. I mean, you can still go to PTAB and appeal it, but I will assure you, they'll send you a nice letter that says we have no statutory authority, because you didn't appeal it at the Board of Review. Just trying to help you out here.
I thought it said so many days after the last tax bill was due.
No,
was
it has to
90
do with
days.
publication. There is another method that has to do with circuit court, but that's a whole different issue, and you're talking a legal issue that I'm not even gonna discuss, because I'm not an attorney.
So where I see fair cash value is 173,430. That's for 13 taxes, payable 14.
Mhm.
Her 14 taxes, payable 15 will have a lower number there.
Which I've already addressed, because again, I'm in a different tax cycle in my office. And again, Jeff, my concern as a supervisor of assessments is to ask a taxpayer, do I have this value right? Is your property worth $150,000? Have I got it over assessed? And generally, if I've got it under assessed, they sure aren't gonna tell me I've got it under assessed. But all I'm concerned with in my office is getting the values right, because that has to do with the distribution of the burden. But I understand, you know, people associate my office as the tax assessor, I determine taxes. And it's just partially, it's just part of the formula. It's the levies with your assessed value that affects your taxes. And that's what I would like to, you know, I wish I could get the public to understand, and I wish this process was a lot easier to understand, but it is not.
I think your idea is a good one, to have
Yeah,
those letters to come out with the bill. And also, I might add that since all of you are here really for the good of our county, you might have a red flag system, because everyone I've spoken to about this bill is aghast.
Well, anybody
And
would be if my tax bill
If
was.
you care anything about families and people that, you know, you live in the community with, you're not gonna let these things fly.
But do you understand that I don't know what that's gonna look like necessarily? I mean, I have an idea, but that's
Well,
kind
if
of
you
what
don't
I've
know
told.
what it's gonna look like, how's the person getting that letter in the mail gonna know?
Well, unless I apply that formula.
Yeah.
But that's not my job. My job is not to apply that formula and do that for people. It's not my job.
Well, maybe somebody
It's a
needs an
service
assistant.
it's a service that I don't mind trying to help people. And that's why I was looking at this different program, is so that information is, so we don't have this kind of thing happening. You know, it's just like I've had issues with people with exemptions. Had they known those exemptions were coming off and the effect, and I would have had something to put that formula together for them to read, sure, you bet, because I'll guarantee you that notice that came in the mail to you, it doesn't mean a lot to me. I mean, I struggle with understanding. That's why I don't like this tax program.
Well, may I ask then why, knowing that, you have the 30 days, people speak up, or, you know, you're out of luck, knowing that you, who are, you know, an expert in the field, and the rest of us don't know up from down, and you're like, oh, too late, got your bill, too late. I mean, that
And
seems
again,
like a
that's-
cruel
and
joke.
And you're talking about the law, and the law is a cruel joke then, because I don't write the law.
But you do these.
I issue the certificate of error. I don't approve them or disapprove them. I don't have that statutory authority. Once I sign the books to John, I'm done. Am I correct, John? I mean, I have no statutory authority.
So, if somebody gets reassessed, they get the letter that notice that they've been reassessed, correct?
That's correct.
And within X amount of days from that, you are going to sign your books over to John's office.
Usually, the process is this. Once I publish, I send letters to the taxpayer, and it explains the process, because it isn't 30 days from the time they get the letter, it's 30 days from the date of publication. Then, once I get everything through the state approved, then it takes usually another 30 days, then I have the board of review step in, and they hear all the complaints that people have. And I have it set up now to where you'll have your decision right then. When you come into my board of review, you know when you walk out the door, their decision, whether they're gonna change it, not change it. And people know right then. Then we send out the letters, then they sign everything off, and the state comes back with the multiplier, and then I shift it to John. But once I sign it, I'm done. Once the board signs their part, they're done.
So when was the board, this was the second meeting here
Yes.
a week or 10 days ago.
That's correct.
How many?
81, we had 81 certificate of errors issued, and I think they approved 76 of them. Everything from mostly were exemptions that people didn't realize they had, or for whatever reason didn't receive. That's usually what it is. And if it's about value, they'll say they don't have any statutory authority. So when people think they can challenge their value at that point in time when they get their tax bill, it's too late. Did I give you either one of these documents? That where I had highlighted talks about the procedures and everything, and then that describes my job and what I do and stuff. And again, I'm trying to do everything I can to educate the public and make sure these kind of things don't happen. It's not that I don't understand or I don't feel, I do, but the process, it's a difficult process, and I personally experienced a judge that didn't do the process right and was not very happy. So don't feel that, this process is very, very difficult. It really is.
It just troubles me that when, a 50% increase on a $15,000 building, $15,000 building, when that's brought to light.
But I also
that
reassessed
people
you
are
as
like,
well.
sorry,
Well,
and
but
that troubles me.
you're telling it a little skewed there, because again, I'm looking at the whole value when I reassessed it. I'm not just looking at the building. And-
When I
and-
came to
and-
ask,
and-
that's what they said, oh,
And
it's this
I
building.
will tell you, that building, it was there for several years, and we didn't have it on the tax rolls. So that building had been there for, prior to '09, and it was not on your property. I got the property card right here. There's no building permit, there's no picture, there's nothing of any building until 2013. And it showed up on my system when I did the satellite imaging, GIS. It showed up in '09.
I was getting reassessments, so I assumed that you guys knew it was there.
Well, again, I wasn't here in '09.
When
So-
was it the last time this was reassessed?
According to the card, 2001.
Well, I've got things in the mail since that.
Well, I'm talking about where they did the quad. I'm not talking about, every 4 years they didn't necessarily come out. And that's why it was so important, Jeff, when I got here, that I go out there and reassess, because there's a lot of properties that hadn't been viewed since '01, '02, according to the record card, so. That's why I went out there, we took pictures of every property and.
How would, somebody reassess a property without knowing what's there?
I don't know, I don't know how they did it.
Well,
I can't speak for my
When I was
predecessors.
on that board, they had pictures and all. And what was
Well,
on the,
prior to these pictures, Gerald,
yeah,
6/7/2001, I don't know what their methodology was, Jeff, on how they reassessed property in the past. I mean, as the supervisor of assessment office, I go out there. Now, does that mean I gotta go out there personally and inspect every property and spend time, you know, if I just drive by it? I mean, once I've done this, I don't have to spend a lot of time at each person's property at this point going forward. But now, even with the GIS, I can, you know, again, I still have, I don't know, 80 properties I need to investigate. But we didn't have anything in '09, and we have new stuff there in the end of '13, and we don't even have building permits for a lot of these. So I got my work cut, my office has our work cut out for us. But again, a lot of, and it's not that Diane, it's not like I don't get, I do, and I understand it's very frustrating, but believe me, it's very frustrating for me when this happens to people, because if I had things a little differently, this would not have happened. You would have got maybe a notice that would have spelled it out that said, you know, this.
And in that case, I could have come to you.
Absolutely, and could have said at that time.
And the corrections would have been made.
And the correction could have made,
Yeah.
but again, I can't, you know, I can't do things in hindsight. I mean, I'm trying to make some changes and do things a little procedurally different, but it doesn't always work as fast as I would like. But that's something I've talked to these gentlemen for the last couple of years about.
How many reassessment letters do you send out?
This last year was 3,500.
So you're stuffing 3,500 envelopes in your office?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What does, is
About a
one,
quarter of the county plus another 1,000 usually.
is that 2 pages, 3 pages? What's in that envelope?
I think I'm not sure if there's 1 or 2 pages. I think there might be 2 pages. Should be a page that it's just a generic explanation of there's been a notice change and it's got percentages or something, but it's not a form I like. I've never liked it since I've been here.
I was just curious, I mean, is it, could we get a, you know, print out on a piece of red paper?
Well, Jeff, I gave it to you.
Attention, ask questions, now,
Well,
soon,
it's
immediately.
well, and again, this is within the program that we're currently using. And that's why I haven't liked it, because it does not, you know, I brought that to you a couple of weeks ago and showed you our notices versus a FICA and FICA notice. And it's clearly spelled out a lot clearer with this other program of what this is gonna, how this is gonna affect your taxes. Because that's ultimately what everybody understands. But the law has it so that you're supposed to understand what all these different changes mean, and it's really unfortunate and unfair, but it's the law. I don't write them. I have to follow, and like I said, you know, I told you a couple weeks ago, Jeff, I don't like that notice. They're terrible. I mean, it's terrible how it.
If the tax bill came out in your 30-day window, then you could
Well,
say,
then I could have,
people had time.
absolutely, but that's not the way the law reads. It reads 30 days from publication.
Or you could put a formula in the letter and
Well,
say, do the math.
Again, I've only got 2 full-time and 2 very part-time people, and even the part-time are becoming more part-time. So out of all this courthouse, I believe I got one of the shortest staffs, or minimal staffs here, and I can only do so much.
But you wouldn't have to mess with people like me if they.
Well, it's gonna happen no matter what. I'm not gonna make everybody happy no matter what. I mean, that's a proven fact.
So when you're mailing these out, which one of your, I mean, have you got a part-timer in there stuffing envelopes?
No,
or
we all get in there. We all do
I was
things.
just curious, I mean,
We got a pretty good team thing going there.
if you could hire a high school, somebody
Well-
after school or college kid or something
And like I
for
said,
a
if
minimal.
we got a machine that folds them. So the process doesn't really take all that long, but I've gotta check with the girls, cause I don't personally get my hands in there. But I'll check with them to see if there was 1 or 2 pieces of paper went with a notice this year.
I was just curious, I mean, we need something in there, attention, ask questions
Well-
immediately.
And again, typically, when we send notices, Jeff, that's one of our busy times. When we send notices, when we send the tax bills out, that's when our phones are busy. Other than that, you know, there's people constantly coming in, but not you know, I don't have appraisers, realtors, title companies coming in as much because I've got that information available online, so, that's why I'm trying to minimize that kind of stuff so my staff can concentrate on getting information out there to the public. But no matter what we do, we're never gonna get everything 100% right, Jeff. There's just no way.
No, I agree with that.
And I wish there was something I could do, but legally, if we did something, if the board would have done something, they would have opened themselves up for a huge lawsuit, and we don't wanna go there.
So
I'm
it
just
sounds
saying.
like the board was covering their tail
I
instead of
would-
doing what was the right thing.
No, they were doing what the law told them to do. That's what they were doing.
Doesn't mean it's,
Doesn't make it,
sometimes, yeah,
I-
morally right, but
but that's, we don't write the laws, we don't, you know, I don't.
I would like for, I mean, if there's 5% of the public that understands the reassessment, do you think it'd be fair?
I think it's less than that.
Okay, for,
3%?
just for hypothetical speaking, let's say 5% of them, and you send 1,000 reassessment letters.
3,500.
Let's
Let's say 3,000.
Just say hypothetically, 5% of them
Yeah.
understand what they're reading.
Yeah, most of them.
And you sent 1,000, I want your office to get 950 calls.
Well, I would love for that to happen too, but it ain't gonna happen because most of them don't understand it and they throw it right in the trash.
That's why I want something
Well,
bold, red,
again,
cardboard in there, something, I don't know, but
again, anytime you wanna come down and look at some of these processes and procedures with me, Jeff, I'd be happy to have you spend as much time as you like. Because it's a very difficult, challenging process, and again, I know everybody like to get everything 100% right. But like I said, I think, and I know a lot of, I've listened to other assessors out there, they would have a fit if they heard me say the fact that I want people to know what their tax bills are when we send that notice, because if they have a complaint, I want it addressed then. I don't want issues addressed when people get their tax bills. I don't. But I can only control so much, I can only do so much falling short of what you can put in the paper. You know, I'll have a seminar, two people have called my office, that's it.
You know, there is a level of trust and faith that the people in this county put in you and the rest of these fellows. And, you know, while we are responsible in a large part for, you know, seeing when our bill goes up, we're trusting you to have our back.
And
We don't look at you as the adversary.
Gerald, how long have I been complaining about this, I've been complaining since I got here.
Well,
So
the bill that you showed me, or the other letter that you showed me, I couldn't make much heads or tails out of it.
I struggled myself. And
No, I'm not talking about the system you got, I'm talking about whatever
I don't,
letter you
anything
come
we
from.
produce, I struggle. I struggle with the tax bill, I struggle with our notice. Because I see percentages that say, oh my God, my land value went up 480%. Well, it may have went up from 60 to, $80 or whatever, but people see those percentage numbers and then they, instead of looking at assessment is dollars. Dollars from assessments and dollars from levies, but everybody wants to throw this percentage stuff out there, and that's where things get complicated and confusing. And I'm all about simplifying it. And that's what I've attempted to do since I've been here.
Well,
I'm on
thank
your
you
side.
so much for your time.
Thanks for
Sorry I
coming in.
interrupted
wish
your building.
No, you're not
And,
bothering us.
I'll just pray you guys all do the right thing, and then
All right.
we'll all be
Thank you.
fine.
We'll see you.
Have a good day.
You too.